Copy. Tigress, we are exterior of the bridge, preparing to breach. Force in, let's go! Staff Sergeant, cover the exit. Ethan, restore life support.
Aye, sir.
Salt, scope the windows, I get the CO's card.
Alert! This vessel has been compromised. All personnel to bridge response.
Hold on, activating gravity.
So we here at the secret Activision room, checking out Call of Duty Infinite Warfare for the first time. Thank you for joining us both, Taylor and Jacob. You've underlined you want to tell a classic story, but with a futuristic setting. And what's the main reason behind that?
The main reason for it is war is universal. These war stories are timeless. They are fables. They are stories about people being put under incredible pressures and how they react to those pressures. And so we're really fans of the genre as well as fans of Call of Duty, going all the way back to the first one. And so for us, it's classic war story just transposed to a new setting.
And also with the futuristic setting, of course, you can introduce new gameplay mechanics. And you've shown a couple, and some of them are really cool, I have to say. What can you tell us about these new mechanics players can expect?
Well, of course, because we're in space, there will be zero-G combat, so you can fight along the outside of the hull of an enemy ship and then breach inside of it. You have your Jackal, which is your space fighter that allows you to fly to and from enemy ships. And of course, you have your hub, the Retribution, which is the ship that you command. And you can order it to go to different missions in non-linear order. So it's really a game that has huge scope, especially because not only do you have fighting in space, but you go onto the surface of other planets throughout the solar system. So it's just all sorts of different exotic locations and new mechanics.
It's kind of crazy because that's a lot of things, but it was pretty amazing when you were walking and then at the end of the mission you get into your ship, you take off, and that's seamlessly. This is a lot of things together, a lot of new features.
You know, in one mission you might be dogfighting in zero-G in your space fighter, and then you can land aboard the Retribution, which is your ship hub, and then you can order that ship to go to different locations. And once you do that, you might, say, let's go attack an enemy destroyer. So let's launch out of the Retribution in our Jackal, fight enemy fighters, pop the canopy, get out onto the hull of a ship, now fight along the hull of that ship in zero-G, and then breach into the enemy ship, maybe scuttle it or seize their technology, and then go back to your own ship, ready to select another one.
That also adds to the narrative, of course. You talked about enhancing the narrative via these new features. How do you think this can add to a more linear story?
Yeah, well, as a captain, being able to choose where the Retribution goes and to be able to take on missions at your discretion is absolutely central to your role as being a leader of men. And not only that, the initiative of Reyes to be able to either take on these side missions, to be able to attack these settlement defense front forces, these targets of opportunity, or to take a mission from command is integral to being a commander.
That also means new characters, as you just said, and decisions. How do you relate to both characters, and how do you take those decisions in game?
Well, Reyes is he's been a leader for many years, but a leader of a squad. He's a commander of a squad of special combat recon soldiers. But through the events of the story, he is field promoted to captain when the captain of his ship is killed in action. And so he has to learn on the job in very, very short order how to lead, to go from leading 4 to 6 members of a squad to leading thousands. He has not only peers and mentors that he must interact with, he now has 1,000 crew members at his ready, fighting for his cause. And of course, he's also fighting for millions, billions of those back home.
And getting back to mechanics, you mentioned, of course, the zero-G, the grappling, the space, flying and fighting. But what about on feet, when you're shooting like the more traditional Call of Duty mechanic? But there's some new elements, the laser scan, some new elements to approach the assaults and the doors. And what can you tell us about that?
Sure. So in your normal on-ground Call of Duty combat, we have all sorts of other new features as well. Being that we are in the future, we have some interesting weaponry, like in our demo you saw a pellet sight, which is a type of shotgun that will track the different parts of your opponent's body and target the pellets towards that. You saw that we have a seeker grenade, which is this kind of spider bot that you throw out on the ground, and it goes and runs after your enemies and tracks them and jumps onto them. You have to watch out because the enemy can also use them against you. And we have all sorts of interesting things, like a hacking mechanic that allows you to take over robots, even if they are inside of another vehicle. And you saw us self-destruct a robot inside another vehicle, causing that vehicle to crash. So there's lots and lots of new abilities that you have and opportunities on the ground as well.
With the main story and the additional alternative mission ops, how long can we expect this to last? Because this looks like the biggest campaign mode ever for Call of Duty.
It's pretty big, but you can expect the campaign to last, what in line with other previous Call of Duty games. But what Infinite Warfare really has going for it is enormous scope, right? The fact that you're going from one planet to another, to enemy ships, launching up from the ground into dogfights, the space that you will be occupying over the course of this campaign is really mind-blowing.
How are you packing it all together in order to keep the punch of the franchise and the usual experienced players can expect, even with all these new features?
Well, again, we're huge fans of Call of Duty in general, and the thing that we wanted to retain is we wanted to retain that incredible feel, that soldier fantasy, and ultimately what it really comes down to is a guy with a rifle in his hands and boots on the ground. It just so happens that sometimes the ground isn't Earth; it could be the ground of Titan, for example. But yes, we're transposing into this new setting while retaining that classic Call of Duty feel.
And how do you feel about the feedback you've been getting after the first reveal of the game? Of course, without all these things we know now.
Well, we're just making the best game we possibly can. And I think that as we get more features out there, as people get to see more of the game, they're going to be really, really excited about it. And that's just our goal, is to make the best game we possibly can. And I think it'll just speak for itself.
Okay, anything else you want to add on this?
No, we're just excited that we have a fan base that is engaged and enthusiastic and wants the best from us, and we want to give the best back to them.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.